This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Morning decisions. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
Hello and welcome to I Talk to Ghosts. I'm your host, spirit medium, and ghost storyteller, Jennifer. And tonight I have not forgotten to bring the spooky chills. I'll be sharing firsthand accounts of whistling ghosts. And of course, the topic of eerie whistling could not be discussed without mention of Appalachia's own folklore and rules to follow if you happen to be unfortunate enough to find yourself hearing whistling in this region of North America. After the spooky, grab a candle and join me at my seance table for a message from the spirits. As your dedicated medium, I will open up the space for a spirit to come close for someone listening to the podcast. Please attend tonight's session and see if the message and connection are for you. But first, the spooky. No whistling in the dark tonight. The ghosts will do it for you. I was sitting downstairs in my house, just about to head up to bed. Everyone else was already upstairs when I heard a very distinct tune coming from the kitchen. Naturally, it freaked me out, but I wanted to rationalize it. I told myself it was probably just the wind, or maybe my brother whistling upstairs. Even though that really didn't make sense. I was fairly sure the sound had come from the kitchen. I went upstairs and I didn't think much more about it. I was sitting in my room when around 11:30, it started again. The same, very distinct whistle, like a song or a tune. This time, I was certain it had to be my brother, so I went to tell him to stop whistling because it was becoming annoying. To my shock, he was fast asleep. I went back to my room feeling unsettled when the whistling started again. I actually began to shake. Everyone in the house was asleep. And there's no way it could have been one of my parents. Their room is on the other side of the house, and now it sounded as though the whistling was coming from right outside my room. This went on for about 10 minutes. Eventually, I plucked up the courage to go downstairs and check everything: the TV, the oven, the appliances, anything that might offer a logical explanation. I couldn't find one. What made it worse was that while I was downstairs, the whistling now seemed to be coming from the living room. It felt as though the sound was following me through the house. If I'd been freaked out before, I was genuinely terrified now. I ran back upstairs, put on my headphones, and I tried to sleep. The next day, my mother said it was probably just the wind, and to be fair, it had been a rainy, windy night, but this whistle was loud, and it followed a distinct tune. I couldn't even tell you what the song was, only that it didn't sound like the wind at all. I'm convinced it was something paranormal. What makes it stranger is that I lived in that house for 13 of my 16 years, and nothing like this had ever happened before. I had recently moved out of my old home and into a place of my own. It was the first time I'd ever lived independently. At the time, I was still moving things back and forth. My mother was relocating as well, and I realized there were a few items I had left behind in my old bedroom. There wasn't much left, so I figured I'd be in and out. I hadn't fully appreciated how unnerving that house was when it was empty. No lights, no familiar sounds, just rooms stripped back to shadows. I walked down the long hallway towards my old bedroom at the back of the house. As I passed my sister's former room, I felt a flicker of unease, but nothing that stopped me. I went into my room, packed up the last of my things, and turned to leave. Walking back down the hallway, I passed my sister's room again and stopped dead. A whistle came from inside. It was clear and unmistakable, the sound of a tune being casually whistled. Not mechanical, not something shifting or creaking. It sounded human. I stood there frozen, the only person in the house, fully aware that I wasn't making that sound. My hands were locked around a box of my belongings. My body refused to move, like a trembling deer. I remembered I had left an old vacuum in her room, and I briefly considered going back for it. That thought didn't last long. When I finally managed to move, I didn't slow down. I bolted out of that old, stale-smelling house, and I never went back for the vacuum. As far as I was concerned, it wasn't worth it. Because if something had been hiding there, my life certainly wasn't worth a small appliance. Once everything was moved into my new home, I finally collapsed onto the couch, exhausted but relieved. It was late, and I turned on the TV, settling in for my first night alone. That's when I heard it again, the same human-like whistling. I muted the television, half expecting to realize it had been coming from the show I was watching, but the sound continued, clear, separate, and unmistakably not my TV. I had been experiencing a strange and unsettling interaction with what I can only describe as a spiritual entity. The encounters usually begin with a sound. A flat, bird-like whistle that I can hear while I'm outside. If I ignore it, nothing happens. But if I turn towards it, everything changes. I become dizzy, like I'm about to faint, and I'll catch sight of a shadow moving quickly around me, just out of focus. The first encounter happened while I was outside doing the laundry. I heard the whistle come from my boyfriend's yard across the street. When I looked over, the world seemed to spin. I saw what I thought was my boyfriend standing on his porch, staring straight at me. But his face was blurred, indistinct, like it didn't quite belong there. I rushed inside and shut the door, and the dizziness immediately stopped. Later, when I asked him about it, he told me he had been asleep inside, and that no one else had been home. I brushed it off, and we didn't talk about it again. Months later, I was outside decorating for the holidays. when I heard the same whistle again, this time accompanied by footsteps in the snow in his yard. The sound of the whistling was eerily similar to his, but flat and emotionless. When I turned, there was no one there. He later told me he had been inside the attic and hadn't stepped outside at all. Since then, the encounters have been less frequent, but not gone. There are days when I hear the same whistling right outside my bedroom window. The more I try to ignore it, the louder it becomes. What makes this even stranger is that my boyfriend has had experiences too. He told me he's seen me outside his house at times when I definitely was not there. He saw me standing still, looking directly at him, smiling. He's also heard my voice calling him late at night, urging him to come outside. I don't do that. I never have done that. We both found it disturbing that whatever this is seems to present itself as the other, wearing familiar faces, using familiar sounds, but we've never learned its intentions. Dear listener, I felt that it wouldn't be right to have an episode on whistling ghosts without mentioning the Appalachian Mountains as well. Across Appalachian folklore and modern horror storytelling, whistling is often treated as more than just a sound. It's kind of a signal that doesn't belong in the natural order of things. In older oral traditions and newer internet-era accounts, people describe hearing whistles in the forests, near homes, or just beyond sight, often accompanied by a strange sense of being watched or subtly followed. What makes these stories linger is not just the sound itself, but the pattern that repeats across them. The whistle seems intelligent, responsive, and tied to proximity and attention. Over time, these accounts have blended folklore, cautionary storytelling, and modern creep narratives into a shared idea of something that uses sound as a way of testing whether it had been noticed. So let's go over the rules of the whistling phenomenon. In old telling, there were no names for what makes the sound, only rules passed along like warnings you're not meant to test. First, the whistle is never random. It is said to appear at thresholds, doorways, tree lines, the edge of sleep, or the moment you are briefly alone enough to notice it. Second, it does not continue for its own sake. It listens for response. Those who treat it as background noise are often left alone. Those who turn towards it are said to complete the acknowledgement, as if attention itself completes a circuit. Third, it is rarely fixed in place. The sound may seem to shift rooms, yards, or direction without footsteps or source. In some tellings, it does not travel so much as reappear wherever it is being thought about. Fourth, it imitates. A whistle may resemble a familiar tune, a person's habit, or even a known voice shaped into something nearly, but not quite, right. The wrongness is often described as subtle, like a memory slightly out of tune. Fifth, it is unwise to answer it, not because it reacts loudly, but because it is said to learn. In some versions of the story, responding once makes it more precise the next time. And finally, it does not arrive to frighten at first. It arrives to be noticed. Fear is not the beginning, but the confirmation that something has already succeeded in getting your attention. Dear listener, here's one final first-hand account that illustrates some of the things we talked about this evening. I was hiking alone deeper into the woods than I probably should have been. Nothing dramatic had pushed me there, just the usual need to clear my head, follow the trail a little further, and see where it went when no one else was around. At first, it was quiet, in the normal way forests are quiet. Leaves shifting, distant birds, the occasional snap of something small moving through the brush. The kind of silence that still has texture to it. Then, I heard a whistle. It was simple, flat, almost careless in how steady it was, like someone absently repeating a short phrase under their breath. I stopped walking before I even decided to. There wasn't anything about it that sounded wrong at first, only out of place, like it didn't belong in the landscape I was standing in. I turned towards it. The moment I did, something in my balance shifted. Not the ground exactly, but my sense of it, like my body had fallen half a step behind from where I actually was. My head felt light, unfocused, and for a second the trees didn't look arranged correctly, as if I was seeing them out of order. The whistling didn't stop. It didn't get louder either. It stayed exactly the same, which somehow made it worse, because now it felt closer, even though I couldn't place where it was coming from. Between two trees, just at the edge of my sight, I saw movement. Not a full shape, more like something briefly committing to an outline and then reconsidering it. It wasn't fast, like running. It was deliberate in a way that didn't match anything I knew how to describe properly. I should have walked away immediately. Instead, I stood, trying to make sense of it, trying to assign it to a source the way your mind insists on doing when something doesn't fit. That's when the dizziness deepened. Not spinning, more like my body losing confidence in where it was supposed to be standing. I turned back the way I came without thinking any more about it. The whistling followed me. Not behind me exactly, as if it had decided direction wasn't important. I didn't look back again. I kept walking until the trees finally broke and I could see the trail opening again ahead of me. Only when I reached familiar ground did the feeling in my body settle, like something had stopped focusing on me. Later, I told myself it must have been the wind moving strangely through the canopy, or depth perception playing tricks in a way I didn't understand. But I haven't gone back into those woods since.
Your favorite local grocery stores like Kroger, Ralph's, Fred Meyer, and more are now delivering on Uber Eats. Get 40% off your order of fresh, quality ingredients. Whether you just got home to an empty fridge or suddenly got a craving to whip up something new, you can get everything you need delivered in as little as 25 minutes. Get 40% off your order with code Kroger2026. Plus, members get $0 delivery fees. Order now on Uber Eats. Orders of $30 or more save up to $25. Ends 4/30/26. See app for details.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining me at my seance table for this message from the spirits. Tonight, as I work, I have with me Black Moonstone. Unlike other moonstones, Black Moonstone is deeply rooted. It offers a protective shield against emotional exhaustion, and it repels negative energy. It's great for new beginnings, so work with it during the dark phase of the moon, during the new moon. It helps you set intentions, clear old patterns, planning for the future, and it's also emotionally balancing. It helps calm anxiety and really aids in emotional work. Finally, it's great at enhancing intuition while keeping you grounded. Okay, gonna clear my mind, clear the space, invite a spirit to come close for someone listening. There is a gentleman coming in. He is coming in with a lot of exhaustion from work. This man worked a lot, very dedicated. It feels repetitious. It feels, all these old phrases are coming to mind, like nose to the grindstone, working yourself to the bone. Makes me feel like he's an older gentleman. Burdens, and his energy feels like he was very focused at this and dedicated, and yet this was really hard. But he accepted that and found it necessary. And he has this juxtaposition of having a faith and spiritual side, and yet at the same time, in the material world, he had this negative filter. It's almost like he didn't have time for optimism. He's saying dangerous to hope. Like, this is how it is. This is how it is. Yeah, he's talking about labor, 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 labor. I'm seeing an ashtray, so he was a smoker. He's talking about his son being so jovial and carefree, and there's so much conversation around how can they be related. I don't try to get names a lot, but I'm hearing the name Joe. When I press him for more, it feels like his working took up so much of his personality, and he wants you to know that he really did have a lot of ideas in his head and really did appreciate watching nature and watching things grow. And he wishes that he had expressed that a little bit more in life. He says he did enjoy fishing, and it was more about the sound of the water and how relaxing everything was. It didn't happen very often, but if he was going to have a hobby, that would have been it. And he's showing me the sunrise. I think he got up really early. The sunrise was never lost on him either. He noticed it. He may not have expressed it, but he noticed it. Okay, his message for you tonight is for you to explore your spirituality. Don't get so pulled into the material world. It feels like you have a lot of drive and you tend to focus on the practical world and what you can obtain here. But he sees this spiritual side of you that could use some nurturing, and that it would be so fulfilling. So if you don't feel fulfilled by all the pursuits that you have been pursuing, explore your spirituality a little bit. Go deeper. What are those mysteries that you want to be a part of? What are those metaphysical things that aren't tangible that you want to experience and know? And he says you're always in motion, and he can relate to that. Make sure that you slow down, especially for your health, because that can be hard on the body, the nervous system, our stress levels, that sort of thing. So maybe do some exploring this year, especially if things don't feel fulfilling. Flip it. Go the other direction. Go for the spiritual. Go for the metaphysical. Go for the mysteries in life. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it at that. I hope this reading connects with you and lands, and that you understand. If that's the case, I would love to know, so please reach out. You can always email me at speaknow@italktoghosts.com. And if you're interested in seeing what Black Moonstone looks like, I'll post a picture of it in the I Talk to Ghosts Facebook group, so join me there. Thank you. And with that, dear listener, we've reached the end of this episode of I Talk to Ghosts. I hope you've enjoyed my spirit work this evening, as well as those creepy stories of whistling ghosts. I've added some more history and folklore to these recent episodes. If you could, please let me know if you appreciate this new addition to the format, because your feedback really does mean the world to me. And if you've had your own encounter with mysterious whistling ghosts, I would love to hear it, so please reach out. In the meantime, wherever you wander off to in this world or the next, just remember, come back and visit with me. Have a lovely evening and good night.
Something's coming. Do you hear it? Can you see it? Trundling across the common, following the old hollow ways, sauntering down the lane, rocking up into the market square, laying out its wares. It reels you in with mysteries, trades with you fantastic tales, spins for you fascinating stories. Stories like the haunted pound stretcher, flying saucers, poisoners and body snatchers, haunted woodland, and the secret tunnels beneath our feet. Weird in the Wade is on its way, a podcast that explores everything that is weird, wonderful, and a little off-kilter in the town of Biggleswade in Bedfordshire. If you like your spooky stories told with a dash of historical context, or you like your history with a pinch of the paranormal, then this is the podcast for you. Never miss an episode. Subscribe to Weird in the Wade wherever you're listening now.
Japan isn't just temples and cherry blossoms. It's haunted castles, urban legends, yokai lurking in the shadows, and true crime cases where something doesn't quite add up. Supernatural Japan dives into Japan's darkest folklore, real history, and mysteries that still disturb the present. From ghosts of ancient warriors to modern legends whispered online, every episode blends culture, crime, and the unexplained. If you love spooky history, Japanese folklore, and stories that stay with you long after the episode ends, search for Supernatural Japan. Because in Japan, the past is never really gone.